welcome. This is just a season preview video. We're just going to go over our team quickly. Mostly, I think, just through the squads, youth and then senior, and just some thoughts for the upcoming season. We won't be checking the scouting pools or auctions list or anything. We'll do that as part of the daily video. This one, we just want to basically just set up our teams and have some thoughts about the squad. So at the moment, we're still developing up this keeper. I don't know. At 18, I just kind of feel like in the end, he's probably just not going to quite cut it, but for the senior team. But we'll just keep going with it. Because we have no choice. I mean, this guy's just really bad anyway, so we'll keep using him. We only really have one left midfielder, so it's going to be him. I think he's okay. I don't know. The passing's not great. It's not ideal. But, again, it is what it is. We might have to review that a bit. And then this guy, I think, is going to be the more attacking one on the right. He can't really tackle. He's the only player that can play right midfield. It is pretty obvious our youth team is a lot weaker. It's a lot weaker. And this guy's probably playing the AMC, although he's not great. Maybe this guy's playing. I don't know. I think he only had 6 endurance, didn't he? Yeah, so he can't really play. I think. Yeah, it's not. Well, he's playing up front. I mean, our team is much weaker. I think we're just going to genuinely struggle to get promoted, if I'm honest, this season with the youth team. I think in order to get promoted, we are going to have to buy some players from the pool. I think this guy, 54 speed, 59 finishing, 60 dribbling. I don't know. He's got 68. It might go with this guy. He's a bit better. Really not sure about this guy. He's quite well rounded, but really not sure about him. And then not sure about either of this guy in particular. He's just not where he needs to be at 20 years old to ever be anything. So we're kind of just draining matches into him. Like, we could be using someone else. I think this guy as well, like well, I'd rather play him, but he doesn't have the endurance of the natural fitness plus. I also think he's not quite where he needs to be. At this point, I've kind of just filled out the stuff that I don't think there's much choice. Maybe there is, because we just basically got a whole. But other than these 2 DMCs, we're not. I mean, I'm happy for this Joe Field guy to be on the bench, to be honest. So we basically got a whole bunch of DCs and a whole bunch of MCs. We're just going to look through them. And I think we're just going to one, obviously, just see which 3 DCs we'll use and which 2 MCs. But also just keep an eye out for things that make sense to add positions. So this guy, he could be a striker as well, potentially, but that doesn't really necessarily. He's just going to be coming off the bench. Doesn't necessarily do anything too much to help us. Plus, he's only, I think his ceiling, it's 64. So I think we'll order it by ceiling. Actually, let's do it the other way around. Let's order it by ceiling and look at the ones with the highest ceiling first, because they're the ones that we're probably more likely to be happy to add positions to. So I think this guy in particular, his endurance isn't great, but I think basically this guy, he was coming off the bench because he had low endurance, but I think this month he should just start. And we'll just sub him off regularly. And then this guy, I don't know, honestly. I kind of just feel like he could just start as well. Possibly. And then there's this guy. I think this guy with 60 endurance, some really good stuff here. He's not only has he got the high ceiling, but he's got good attributes. I think he'll start. And 39-22. Not sure about that guy. Because he's only got 40 passing. Then there's this guy. What's his endurance? So he's got quite a lot of endurance and natural fitness. And then there's this guy, and I think he's just because he's older, and he's not really that much ahead on the key attributes. So I'm not that excited to use him, to be honest. So I think I'd rather use either this guy, just because his ceiling's so high. He's got a lot of scope to grow. Or use this guy, who's got much better sort of attributes. They're both 17. 70's pretty high though, to be honest. We probably should just be using him. And just sort of... It's just the passing at the end of the day, and that went up, what, 3? So we'll just keep tabs. I think if it just stops going up, we'll bear that in mind. But as long as this keeps going up, we could use him. So I guess he can be on the bench. And then there's this guy, and I think this guy with his 56 passing, 60 vision, 60 tackling. Not greatest dribbling, but also good first touch. Not the best of stuff, but I think we could add DMC to him. He could play DMC. He could also play DC. He will play one or the other. But we could add DMC. I'm happy to add DMC to him. I think that's a good investment with that high ceiling as well. I think there's Amino, who was starting last season. I imagine he will be starting this season. It's just in which role. He can basically be a stopper. He can be the central defender. But ideally, he could even be the one in the middle, to be honest, if we're desperate enough. The cover. I think this guy we would rather have as the central defender. And this guy will have as the cover. And then I think Aminu can be the stopper. And I think we want to have another DSC on the bench, which would be... this guy, is it? I guess so. And then everybody's getting used. So he's on the bench. I think he's the one that could also play striker. No, he's not. Who's the one that can play striker then? Is it him? Nope. Maybe this guy. Okay, this guy could also play striker. Oh, he's only got 4 endurance. So he would have to come off basically every match for this guy. So I think that's an okay arrangement for now. And we can see how he develops basically before making the decision on whether or not we add striker to him. So we got a spare striker, a spare AMC, a spare MC. We basically, I think, need to order by ceiling again and just check the players for playing wide midfield. He can't really play wide midfield because he can't dribble. It's pretty obvious we're going to need at least to add wide midfield to somebody here, I think. So let's check the ones that are. So he could. He's got good crossing, decent dribbling. It's not ideal that it's him, to be honest. And not him. Not him, because he also can't dribble. Not him. Alright, we could add wide midfield to him, and then he can be on the bench. And then he will get games. And the other option would be this guy. Probably should be him. He's got some great stuff here. He could be the up and back role, because he can dribble, he can tackle, he can't really pass, but he could be the up and back role. So if he was the up and back role, that would be instead of Dermot Letty, or as well as Dermot Letty. And then you've got this guy. I think we're basically saying he's 34 and 40, and then Letty he's 61 and 38. So in theory, he would be subbed off. He can finish as well. So he's currently playing the up and back one, but actually he should probably just be the more attacking one this season. And then Sissoko can just end up on the bench, and then Pastore we can start. Same, he's only got 61 ceiling because we would be investing a lot into him by adding the position. But I think for the up and back, it's okay because he can dribble. He's just got some great attributes for it. So I think basically what we're going to do is put Pastore. We're going to add right midfield to him, and then Sissoko is going to be on the bench. I think maybe Sissoko starts, but I don't think so. So I think he's on the bench. So I think that's fine. So I think Pastore. Basically, we're going to end up doing that. That's going to be attacking winger. This one's going to be regular winger. Aminu, these two will swap. He will become central defender. He will become central stopper. So we just flip that formation around. And then basically there's going to be a bit more space running through this side than this side. So of these two MCs, we want the one that's more likely to get up and more likely to finish, more likely to get up there for a chance and more likely to finish if he gets the chance. So what we care about is speed, finishing, long shots, composure, effectively, and some other bits, but those things mainly. So 51, 54, 55, 56. So I think it's the other guy on the whole. He's a bit quicker, so he's more likely to get up in time for the chance to begin with, and he's overall better finishing as well. So yeah. So I think that's our youth setup. I think the things we need to just bear in mind here that we'll review this in a bit more depth before we actually do it, because it is, and we need to double check with our senior team to make sure we don't need to add positions for them, and we need to get the manager skill as well. I think we need to highly prioritise that. But what we want to do basically is add right midfield to Pastore. We want to add DMC to Cam. So that's 2 position adds we want to use up for these guys. The other thing as well, if the DMC happens to last the match out, which he's got decent endurance and natural fitness, with that extra position, we could also bring on a DMC for a DC and bring him back to DC as well. As for the senior team, I think Ishikawa is still going to play. We'll sort these ones by value. I think Mizachi's still going to play. I think Ben Yusuf in there. Rivera. Just basically the central defender. And the stopper would be this guy. It's Cabo, Duran, Vasquez down there. think it was Meekin that we probably want to start from memory. Let's go career. Was he the one starting? Yeah. So Meekin will start. Let's just double check between Meekin and Ben Yusuf. So he's got 73 finishing, 57. He's got 77 long shots, which is good. But the problem is he's too fast. So this is the issue that he's got. He's too fast. He gets up too quick, and he's typically inside the box instead of outside the box for the long shots. I think this guy's reasonably fast. He's a much better finisher, but not as good at dribbling, I don't think. No, he's not good either. Aerial ability. I don't know. I think we can just try it this way around and see how it goes, and just see if we have a bit more success there with the shots. I think that's alright. And I think we basically want probably La Parmentier. I'm not sure about this guy. Oh, he's pretty good, to be honest. He's alright. So Gibbons on the bench, and I think we'll have Bolger and could have Tara Borelli on the bench. That's one option. Another option is Bevan. But you know what, to be honest, I think I'm just going to put Gardelis. I'm just going to try and have him on the bench, basically, generally, for the season as a thing conceptually, so that I can get him some matches quite often. If he's just generally not even on the bench, it's just going to be so hard to get him matches. So I think I would rather just have my positions and everything set up that I'm just okay to, cover for stuff, basically. And just have it as an option to bring him on every single time that we've won the match or lost the match. We'll see if that works as a concept. So yeah, I don't feel like we need to add any positions here. So let's just go to the manager skills. I'm not sure about the treatment. Let's just go. So I think we still want to generally scout for players. I think this is important for us. The learning, we definitely want the extra positions. I think the contract extensions are pretty important for us at this point. I want to start keeping the team together. So that stuff's all key. I think the 16... Hold on, let's just save this. What we can do is we can go to our youth squad and just sort by positions. We've got a bunch of 16-year-olds, a bunch of 17-year-olds, a bunch of 18-year-olds. So I think with the training... the manager skill, sorry. I think we want that for 16, that for 17, and that for 18. I think we want to try and get better trialists. We definitely want the extra graduation. I'm not sure about these. Let's part these for the foresight. We put to good use. The conditioning we put to good use. So if we had players of these other ages more, let's check the 22 and 23-year-olds in the senior squad. I don't think we got too many of them. Oh, that's not true. 23 we don't, but 22 we have a whole bunch. But having said that, Maklis we look to sell, Moreno we look to sell, maybe Supic we look to sell when we get a bid. I don't think he has a future either. But Schultz, so we end up with only 4, but the other 4 we probably will keep. So that's an option. So the 22-year-old training one is an option. Let's just put them at one level for the ones that are... The quality is an option. The prevention is an option. The durability we're not too bothered about. The treatment's an option. We don't need to increase that. We'll just use the money if we have it. We're not that bothered about that either. That's an option, although that's kind of I don't know about that one. It's quite, yeah, not sure about that one. It's pretty expensive. Probably we'll get other stuff. It's very powerful though, but I think it's, again, I mean, it's, you're talking about it. Yeah, it's hard for us to properly evaluate that one, to be honest, because we're just planning to get to the Masters League and then wrap it up, and this is something that's really not doing much until more than a real life year into the future. It's pretty hard to properly weigh that up. But I'd say, generally speaking, this is going to be more powerful the better the graduates you're likely to end up with, and they'll be better the high, like if you're a high division. So this is basically a better skill if you're in a high division. So this is something we might look to, might make sense if you're in Division 1 of the Masters League, and maybe a little bit of sense in Division 2, but it basically makes more sense the higher you get. We're okay, I think, with one auction bid. I think this is something we might look to use in Division 1, but I think we'll be okay in Division 2 and don't need it. So yeah, so I think it's these ones. The treatment, I think, is the most powerful one in regards to getting promoted for us. I think the injection is probably more useful than the 22-year-old training. Probably, but we can't actually get... Oh, and then there's prevention. I'm not too bothered about that. I think the thing with the prevention is that is a much better skill if you don't have treatment, and treatment is much better if you don't have prevention. And having both, I think, is overkill. So we won't have that. So we're left basically, I think, at this point between choosing... Okay, so we're back here. So it's between quality, for us, between quality 22-year-old training, injection, maybe prestige. I don't know. I feel like we can make do with one auction bid. We have got a bit of cash though, and it could be useful to make two. It might make sense to check the auctions list first, in case there is two players we want to bid on. We haven't actually done that yet, and that could totally make sense. Let's assume we don't, and we'll just work the skills out and save on that basis, and then we'll quickly check the auctions list to make sure there's not two players that are just we really, really, really want to bid for. So I think if we don't, I think the injection is probably... Oh no, the quality. So I think the quality is the one we would care the most, but we can only get 2 levels. And we could get then we could get 3 levels in that, and we'd have 432 points left. Or we can get 1 and 1. So it's like £1 million or some extra points for the 22-year-olds. We probably take the £1 million, to be honest. So it's close. Like, we still don't have that much money. That's the thing. Money's still pretty useful. Might be worth just trying to get these extra ones. I think to get them, what would we have to give up? We don't want to give up. That's the thing. That's what we're talking about. Like, literally, this is like £3 million for 3, 4, 5, it's like 7,000. It's basically worth adding a position. It's worth about £3 million. That's how we've got to treat these position adds to some degree, because we are choosing this. I mean, we could not take that and then get them and get them, or that. That might make more sense, because I don't know. We were struggling to even use them up last season. I mean, this is the thing. If we got them now, we are talking about using 2 of them straight away for the youth team. We don't need any for the senior. And then we'd basically have 1 in reserve for buying a player for the senior team, which is okay. I think ideally we would have 2. But that's much more expensive. I think the other thing here is the scouting pool stuff as well. We're not really... We are getting them a bit, but yeah, I think the scouting is one here as well. And this last extension, I don't know. This thing is the level 3 in a lot of these. I'm just not sure about. I'm not sure about that one in particular. any of them. Or maybe it's just worth quickly checking what the world would look like for us if we didn't use any of them, because we could easily get that. Yeah, and I think it's just, well, we don't really need anything much. I feel like the quality is just, we want that, basically. I think the quality is more important than the youth scouting, actually. So we'll do it that way around for us. And then actually we could get 3 points in injection as well. Yeah, this makes more sense. So, and then I think, what is it? Would you rather have the learning or the youth scouting? One extra position. And then it's 3 players. The treatments we use, I think the conditioning is pretty important for us to win the matches. The injection we don't particularly need, but 3 million isn't insignificant. The extensions, I think we get to a point where we need them to make sure we can keep our team together. I think the senior scouting for us is generally more useful than the youth scouting, so if it's a choice between these two, we'd take the senior one. And then it's like one position versus looking at the youth players. Probably the position is actually more valuable, to be honest, to us, I would say. So I think it's something like this, and then the 22-year-old training here. I think this is ultimately what we're going to do. I'm just thinking, typically, like if we look at all the players we've ever bought from our scouting pool, like the overwhelmingly vast majority of them have been senior. Like I would say 75% of them probably or more. So it's just more useful for us to have the senior scouting than the youth one for sure. And having basically we're planning to use 2 positions straight away, would have 2 left, and that allows us to use one in the case of some kind of emergency or something or other, and also if we need, and 1 or 2. If we don't need, we'll have 2, and if we do need, we'd have 1. But basically our 2 if we buy players, we can, and they might have the right attributes, not the position we need, then we can add the position. All right, one thing we're just going to quickly do is just check the player auctions. And we're just going to check that there doesn't happen to be 2 players that we absolutely must bid on. This guy's pretty good for us, I'd say, but we're not going to spend 13 million on him. He's not good enough for us. He's super fast, which is all good and well, but it's not something we need from our MCs. I don't mind the look of this guy, but again, it's like, I mean, he probably ends up playing. He's only got 14 dribbling, which isn't great. He probably ends up playing DMC if we get him, and then our current DMC probably ends up playing MC. But I don't know. I don't feel like this guy's that great. He's only got 39 endurance as well, so it's like you have. I don't know. I'm not feeling it too much. 83 finishing is high. 77 speed is good enough. Doesn't dribble too well. He's okay, but and he is, he's like half the price of the other guy. 79 passing, 70. Yeah, this guy's pretty good. He's 10 million though, but he's good enough at tackling, good enough at scoring and finishing, and he's fast, got high endurance, passing, vision, control. He ticks a lot of boxes, to be honest. He would be really good for us, I feel. Has he got training option up yet? He does. So he'd get 2 extra dribbling, 3 movement. He's actually going to get just straight up better as well. I feel like this guy's pretty good. We could bid for him. What was it? Marvin something or other. This guy. I think the issue is he is 10 million. Let's just have a look what else there is. 77 speed. I think we already checked that guy. So we have to go back and check all the 26-year-olds again. Maybe a different order. Let's just quickly do it. This guy, MR, 20 million. I think it's a bit beyond us. But he's... I think it's beyond us anyway. I don't think we actually have 20 million. I don't think we actually have that much. But actually, for the up and back roll, he's pretty good, to be honest. He can pass, he can tackle, he can dribble, he's fast, strong. I think he's too expensive for us, but he's actually really good. And this guy, he's like half the price, but the other guy, you could conceivably buy someone who's 27 still. Be open to that. It's this guy. I mean, he's okay. He's nowhere near as good as that 26-year-old guy for us, though, because he's just tackling is just a world of difference. We want to be more defensively stable, basically, and this guy with 78 tackling is just a huge deal, pretty much. Alright, and then I think we're getting... So I think it's just those two, but we can't afford to bid for both anyway. I don't even think we can afford to bid... Do we even have... Yeah, we have 18 million, so we can't even afford that guy anyway, which is a bit of a shame. Anyway, we don't need... I think one thing's obvious is that we don't need more than one level in the... For this prestige, we're just not in a position to make multiple bids, so this is okay. We can finalise these skills. We'll just double check. Yes, makes sense. It was the 22s. These all make sense. Treatments, conditionings, injection. Yeah. So other stuff that we would just, if we had players of these, if we had a saturation of players of any of these age brackets, we'd consider all of those. If we had less key players like Mizachi or whatever, and just more general squad depth, we probably would just get these prevention ones instead of the treatments. We would consider that. Treatment's better if you have specific players, where I think prevention is probably better if you don't have specific players you care about. You just generally want less injuries, just generally, and you're okay with specific players getting injured. It's less points overall, and you basically at level 3 you won't ever be getting injuries in the first half of matches, so it would reduce the total number of injuries you get by a fair bit, whereas this just brings the players back. But it's, yeah, I don't know, I think it's also more points than it matters how many points you have left and whatever. But like I said, I don't think it makes sense to get both, especially in high levels in both. Investment, we would consider that if we had more cash, but we just don't. We're not really... If we had a whole bunch of players and we wanted to sell them, sure, but at the moment we're just more focused really on buying players and just checking our scouting pools a lot. I think the big thing we're missing, to be honest, is of all of this is, the support would be very useful as well. Some of these match skills would be much more useful if I think we needed them in order to get promoted, but I don't think we will. And the youth scouting, ideally we would have it. It is 3 players a day, so it's like 90 youth players we get to check over the course of a month. It could easily be like one awesome player, but the thing is, so could quality, right? It could easily be one awesome player, and it's a lot less points. So I think on the whole, one thing actually, when we finalise, we'll get the 3 million cash injection, so let's do that. And now, I think if we go to our projection, we actually now have 3 million. So we now have 20.9, but I think we're still short on, was it this guy? Can we bid the minimum? Yeah, we can't. We're still a bit short. We could if we sold someone. I'm just not sure if we're that desperate. We could sell this guy, but yeah, I don't know. Just not sure makes sense, to be honest, for us. He's pretty good though, but I don't know if we need him this season to get promoted. He's more somebody we would need for next season, so it's like we just maybe need to keep an eye out for the start of next season. But I think he is the type of player. I think we're better off just maybe at this point keeping our cash. We'll do the daily video anyway and go through the scouting pool and whatever, because it's possible we got somebody in the scouting pool. So yeah. So there's our season setup. I think we're just sticking with the same tactic. Maybe we'll just try play some friendlies if we get a chance, just to make sure that we're going to be competitive at this level. So we do have a bit of opportunity to try and change something up if it looks like we might not be competitive enough. So there we go. So thanks for watching. Catch you for the next one.